There it goes. I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joining me here tonight, John Phillip Bettencourt, author of To Benight and Beguile, and we're here to discuss To Benight and Beguile. How are you, man?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me again. It's been almost a full year since you and I have chatted on Skype. I looked at the history.
well, what it is I figure we got to get it, to where we can discuss a story, Dark Shadows, and a bunch of other things.
I'm here for it. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Is the island of Welshport cursed?
That is a really good question. I don't know if it's the island. So basically, I haven't decided yet in a way.
Okay.
So that's still open for interpretation. It could be that it's the island that's cursed. It could be that it's the family itself. Maybe it's one person. Maybe it's Evie. Maybe who knows? I really haven't decided that, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be a curse in general, or if it's just a lot of horrible things happen to these particular people in this family or that surround this family. There could be one reason why the terrible things keep happening, or it could be several. I really haven't decided that yet. It's super early in my plotting.
Right. So there's two main antagonists in your story. There's Gaspar and Jacob Lord. And Jacob is the uncle of Sebastian, the son of Rebecca, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
And he is a son of a bitch, but he and Gaspar is somebody he owes money to, and he doesn't really have the family fortune in his name, so he wants to get rid of Dave, or sorry, yeah, he's gotten rid of David, who is Sebastian's father. He's gotten rid of Sabrina, which was Sebastian's mother. He killed her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he wants to get rid of Sebastian and now Evie, and he has more than one plan. Is Jacob like a really good schemer, or does he think of it on the fly?
So far, it's been a long-winded sort of master plan of his. He wants his whole family fortune to be his.
Right.
Um, it's more of a story of well, if we go back towards like sort of if a prequel existed, it's about two brothers, David and Jacob, and how the family fortune is divided between the two. But in the final chapter, I reveal that the father kind of goes crazy.
Right.
His name is Albert. He goes crazy and gives all the money and all the power to the older brother, David. I'm sorry, the younger brother, David. So
Right.
then the story turns into this kind of jealousy of Jacob, and Jacob only wants to, well, a couple of things. He wants revenge on his brother getting chosen to be the next in line, only the next in line, and then also he wants it all for himself. So what he's doing is he's basically knocking down every hurdle that would step in his way in sort of the line of succession. So all these things keep kind of happening where he's done away with his brother, he's done away with his sister-in-law, and then he's going to make sure he gets rid of his nephew. But then his nephew gets married, and that throws another kind of a hurdle in his way, because he knows if they get married and have a child, he'll have to also kill the child. So there's all these kind of like things popping up, and he's running out of steam and running out of time because he has to make sure everybody's away and dead so that he can carry on his own mission, which is to keep all the money and all the power.
So he wants it for himself, and also too, the one thing I noticed too is he feels he's more of the cunning, he's more ruthless for the business end of the family.
He does. Well, he's very narcissistic. Jacob
Right.
believes he is the better of his brothers, which is David. He believes he's sort of the cream of the crop of his family. He can do anything he wants. He's sort of been, if there's certain conversations within the entire series where people sort of talk about him like he's sort of done whatever he's wanted his whole life, like the part where he kind of uh, drives drunk one night with his assistant Philippe, and then they have a car accident, and he's sort of like, there's those little stories in there. There's also the whole thing with Mary, how he kind of manipulates her, and he womanizes her and gets her pregnant and then takes the baby from her. I mean, he's always been very, I don't know if I can curse here, but effed up. Like
Yep.
he's a horrible person. Deep
Oh,
down,
yeah.
there's something definitely wrong with him. We haven't really scratched the surface on what happened exactly. There are pieces there of the puzzle, but he definitely is messed up in the head.
Oh, yeah, dude, there's no filter here. You don't got to worry about that. But,
Okay.
so, okay, so Jacob says about the devil to his mom, Rebecca, and there's a seance that Rebecca holds because she believes in the spirits and the other world and the afterlife. She's really heavily involved with that stuff.
Yeah.
So where does Jacob stand on that whole thing?
He doesn't really believe it. I mean, he hires Gaspard to sort of trick his mother into believing that he does have these powers. Gaspard is his sort of tool to keep
Right.
her kind of off of his trail, you know, because he's doing all these bad things behind her back.
Right.
And he just kind of uses Gaspard to kind of like keep her in her own little world of the supernatural. So he doesn't necessarily believe in it, although it's real. I mean, it's happening. There are all these things that are happening around him that are supernatural. There's, you know, specifically his dead sister-in-law who's haunting his daughter. she's there in the house. So
Right.
he definitely doesn't believe it, but he sees it, and especially at the seance. I mean, stuff happens at the seance, but he just brushes it under the rug as if it didn't happen and carries on with his plot.
There's times that, like, speaking as a reader of it, there's times he seems like he's mixed, or is he just putting on a show?
Definitely mixed. I mean, there is part of him that is unsure of what's going on, but I think deep down he wants to keep moving and keep focusing on the bigger picture, which is in his mind total control. So there are pieces that, of course, if you see something it's unexplainable, of course he's going to question it. But I think for the most part, Jacob is totally focused in his own, you know, narcissistic world of power, money, give it to me, give it to me.
Right. So there was some really, really good plot twists in this series. Eliza.
Yay. I'm glad you liked it.
Eliza, who is a witch. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
A big witch, yes.
Yeah, she has really, really interesting powers. So I have to ask Sabrina, who is Eliza's sister, which was a hell of a reveal. I was not suspecting that at all. So was Eliza only born with powers, or was both Eliza and Sabrina born with powers, or does it work like differently?
Again, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Maybe, I don't know. We could definitely figure that out in the next one, but that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that even I don't know, but there are reasons why Eliza hasn't used her powers in a very long time. There is a reason why she's on an island off on her own, and most of it is because she doesn't like what she did to her sister. She put her sister's spirit into a child to save her, to bring her back in a way by Sabrina's request. It wasn't something she did on her own, but it made her so uncomfortable that between the death of Sabrina and what she did to Sebastian, she never used her powers. It's known that she's sort of different. The townspeople know that she's strange. They know that she's on her own island for a reason. They know that Mary certainly knows that her mom is special, but powers aren't something that she likes to use. She's not comfortable with it, but she does use them when she has to save or protect her family, which in both cases in the story she did. She used it to bring back her sister. Her sister has her own reasons for coming back, and of course Mary messes up completely everything and murders somebody out of, you know, a manipulation. So to help her daughter out of that mess up, she uses it again.
I'll give Mary this. She's a she's not the best shot with a revolver, but she's better than Barnabas with a pistol. So, that's so wrong. But she got one person. She kills Sebastian, who she doesn't know is her cousin. Which I found again. I found when you revealed that it was later on. It was after she killed him, and that's what was really like gut punching. It's like, damn girl, you just 86 your own cousin. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, I mean, she first of all, she loses her mind. I mean, what kind of person
Right.
just decides, sure, I'm going to go and do this, cousin or not? I mean, who the hell wants to go and murder somebody for? But she's also tempted. Her Jacob tempts her with, "Hey, I'll give you more access to Charlotte, our daughter, if you do this for me." So it's another extension of his crazy brain that he wants. He wants everything done for him. He doesn't do any of the dirty work at all. So poor Mary is tempted and manipulated into doing something heinous just to get access to her child that she hasn't seen in forever. So on top of that, it's her cousin. It's her own cousin that she discovers later on. So all of these layers of crazy twists and turns keep building up, and Mary sort of has to do what she has to do and begs her mom for help. And I mean, it just gets worse from there.
Is Eliza seems again? I like what you said because Eliza doesn't really want to use magic. So is she afraid of the consequences, not just for her, but for the people involved of her spells?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this when I did the Return of Dark Shadows. We've always talked about how when you do one thing for the good of whatever, there's always going to be something on the back end to fill it, right? The good, the bad, it balances. There's
Right.
always going to be a balance. So Eliza is very, very aware of that. So she knows that if she brings Sabrina back, something else will happen to fill the void of wherever Sabrina's supposed to be.
Right.
She knows that if she brings Sebastian back from the dead in a separate way, because it's a totally different way that they're brought back. Sabrina's still a spirit. Sebastian is not. Sebastian's brought back to life, literally. So
Right.
she knows that if she does that, which is her hesitation in the beginning or towards the middle of the series, Mary asks her, "Can you help me? Can you help me?" And she tells her straight out no, because she knows that if I help her do this, something's going to happen. Something will come back to bite her in the ass for doing it, because it's against nature. Witchcraft and Wicca kind of stuff. Those kind of like energies that I think Eliza is more of a white witch than a dark witch. She's more of nature, spiritual type of thing. She knows that there's a karmatic reversal that's going to come at her once she does these things, and we're waiting for it. We don't know yet what that might be.
So this is going to sound like a really weird question.
We're talking about pretend characters. There are no weird questions.
So my favorite character of your story so far is the island itself.
Yes, I heard you say that a few times, which I liked.
So is the island alive?
Good question. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, we don't really know much about Welshport. We don't know much about Good Island. We know that they're very remote. They're in Frenchman Bay up in Maine. They're between these two channels that flow around them. They have a lot of crazy shit that goes down on it. I don't know exactly if it's a curse, like we were talking in the beginning. Is it a curse on just a specific family? Is it the whole island? There's a lot of open space to explore and to create once I get going again. And that's a great question. Uh, I don't know. I definitely think there's a lot of energy on the island. There's a lot of supernatural vibes that come to the island often. And even in the very first chapter, the character of Catherine, who's sort of like on the boat with Evie from England, she's sort of like, "You're going where?" Like she knows everything. She knows what's going down. She knows that it's a crazy place and that some shit's gone down there. She's aware of it. So it does have its own set of history, its own set of its past. The island itself.
It's sort of like whether you go to Terra, like from my view, like I'm just giving my reader's opinion here. So Terramore Island, or sorry, Welshport Island, whether you're visiting Terramore House or not, it feels like, okay, visitor beware. when you
Like,
step ashore here.
absolutely. And people in town are aware too. You know, they all keep their distance from the family that is sort of like I use the reference of royalty. They're sort of the royal family of that island where everybody knows their business, even though they put out these like pretend like, oh yeah, no, this didn't happen. This is how it happened. But it's all fake. It's all sort of this veneer that the family wants to put up so that, you know, they can keep going on with their lives. But it is definitely a place that people are afraid of.
Rebecca. So Rebecca is someone who really believes in the supernatural and the spirit world. What do you? And she sort of really believes in God and the devil. So where does religion and her belief for spirituality, or the paranormal, if you will, where does that meet? Like, does it meet in the middle, or is there like a different? I don't know what I'm trying
Well,
to ask. Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
I get it. You're asking if there's maybe a separation of the two, or do they
Right,
jive?
right,
Yeah, I think for Rebecca, they go hand in hand. I think she understands that the supernatural world is the sort of ethereal world of like whatever God you believe in. I think she believes that they're very connected. Um, she sort of represents what a lot of the older sort of Victorian women back
right.
in the day did. I my inspiration for her was, you know, they were really superstitious back then, and they had a lot of different ideas of what the supernatural was. I don't know if you've ever heard of the the spooky house here in San Jose. It's like the Winchester Mystery House. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
So the Winchester Mystery House, real quickly, is the owner of the Winchester rifles. She believes her. It's a huge mansion. She believes her house was haunted by the people who died of bullets created or shot out of the Winchester rifles. It's this weird house that has staircases that lead to nowhere. All the glass of the windows is sort of foggy and strange. Like it's a really weird built house. And she believed that people spirits were in her walls and all around her. So Rebecca sort of is inspired by her. And so
Oh,
when Sebastian dies, like I cover all the mirrors with she covers the mirrors with fabric so the spirits can't go through the mirrors. You know, all those little things that I read about, I kind of entered into the story about people in the Victorian times who believed the way Rebecca believes. So
have you
she
ever
definitely believes they are jiving together.
have you ever heard about the haunted train tracks in Texas?
Haunted? No, I haven't.
Okay, so there's these train tracks in Texas, in San Antonio, and a car got got stuck on the tracks, and a train hit the tracks, and or a bus, and there was kids on there. And if you now the tracks aren't in use anymore.
Uh-huh.
Now the legend is, if you stop on the tracks and park on the train tracks, which I wouldn't do, um, and I'm not advising anyone to go do. Um,
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
right. Now, if you put baby powder on the back of your car and you put your car in
Oh,
neutral, the kids will push the car across.
I have heard. I didn't know this was in Texas. Yes, I've heard this story. I've even seen pictures.
Yeah, and it's creepy as shit, but
Very creepy. And it's like these tiny little hands, right, on the powder.
yep.
Oh, yeah, that's scary.
Now somebody else was telling the story where they didn't use the powder, but they could feel their car moving,
Wow.
and it was like, oh shit, yeah. Um,
That is disturbing.
that is like, why did we come here again? But and that sort of reminds me of Welshport. It's like, I mean, it's a beautiful island, but it's like, oh, like all this happened here? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
The beauty is dangerous.
right. So Sebastian and Evie is this girl who is coming from a family that had money, but they don't have money no more, and she was promised to one of the lords, which is Sebastian,
Hmm.
and she falls in love with Sebastian. What was the inspiration behind Evie?
Um, I don't. That's a really good question. I don't know. I'm sure there was somebody back when I was writing the plot, but there isn't a specific person or idea about it. Actually, there is. There was. Let me say this: the idea of coming from England, like a rich girl losing her money coming from England,
Right.
was kind of inspired by Kate Winslet's character of Titanic. Because if
Oh,
you remember, she also was a rich girl who was betrothed to this dude, and her family was uh, going broke too. Definitely, the circumstances then divide as they sink in a ship, and Evie goes to insane asylum. So the differences are there, but yeah, that was definitely my kind of idea. Is that she comes from this family who used to have money, like you were saying, doesn't anymore, and they're like, we need to send you off because there's no we need you to help the family. And this is how women of a certain time age would help their families raise up again, is through marriage.
no, she doesn't. Okay, from my reader's perspective opinion, she doesn't seem to believe in this whole seance thing or the supernatural. Where does she stand on that?
I think she's more afraid of what is really going on. I
Okay.
think she doesn't want to, sort of, to make it short, she doesn't want to go there. Like, she doesn't want to go to that area. She thinks more, it's more of a disrespect to Sebastian.
Right.
He just died. It's only a week or so after his death, and now all this weirdness of, oh, let's contact him again. It makes her uncomfortable. I'm not really sure if she has an idea of if it's real or not, but she's definitely uncomfortable with the idea of messing with her husband's spirit. It's uncomfortable. It's strange. It's not
Right.
something she normally would do in a regular, type of life.
So Evie gets committed to Wincliffe by Jacob and Rebecca.
Hmm.
So Wincliffe is a huge shout out to Dark Shadows. So I gotta ask this: did you ever consider committing her to Smith's Grove and making her roommates with Michael Myers at all?
Is Michael Myers around in 1911? He could be. You
No,
never know.
no, no.
Maybe I'll write a Dr. Myers in there or something as some crazy some crazy shout out to him.
Now I like the Wincliffe reference, and here's why I love how you describe where it's the fact that Jacob's father Albert died there. That sort of adds to the lore that of the Wincliffe you and I know.
Right,
So
right.
it really gave this ominous, oh shit, don't send that girl there, what the fuck. And so when she goes there, you really feel sorry for
For
her.
anyone who knows Dark Shadows, for sure, you feel
And,
sorry for her. She's kind of screwed.
yeah. And so Sebastian is a vampire and he kills Gaspar. I mean, Gaspar is scared to death of Sebastian.
Yeah, definitely. Sebastian sort of comes back to Tiramore to sort of, take what's his. He's sort of like, I'm back, kind of thing. He unfortunately doesn't realize that the shit is gone, or what is it? The shit has hit the fan, and
Yeah.
his family's sort of fallen apart. And he knows Gaspar is a fraud. He knows he's been lying. He knows that he's been sort of helping Jacob do all these terrible things, and he's hungry. He hasn't had a single bite to eat until he meets up with Gaspar, and Gaspar is a perfect victim. He hates him, so why not waste him?
Yeah. I was shocked that Christian, the constable, finds Gaspar's body. So, and Gaspar says monster, and it gets out the word monster. It is Christian not necessarily just shocked by the fact that Gaspar's dead, but maybe the way he's dead.
100%. I mean, he sees this body in a pool of blood with wounds that are sort of unfamiliar and weird, and he has no idea what has done this to this guy. He's seeing this body totally, broken and ripped apart, and the only thing he can think of is what his last words, what Gaspar's words were, monster, and he obviously is scared out of his mind and leaves the house literally in a panic, and gets to his friend's house and has a frozen face, has no idea what's going on, is terrified of what's really happening. And of course, Philippe, his best friend, is like, "Oh, you've seen it too. You know what's going on."
he's like, you, he's like, hey, yeah, about our friend Sebastian.
Oh yeah, about that.
Yeah, I gotta talk to you about that. You sitting down? You need to.
I've been in a cage for 6 weeks. Let me tell you.
Right, right. I'll tell you what I was shocked about the fact that, and I'm not, I don't, I think this really decided Eliza's. I had really questioned as a reader Eliza's and Mary's moral compass at times.
Hmm.
When Eliza lets Philippe live, that let me know, okay, this woman's not bad. You know what I mean? Like there's
She's not bad, but at the same time, she let him live because she needed fresh blood. So it's a weird sort of opposites. Like, yeah, she thank you for leaving him alive, but at the same time, you're using him as a refrigerator for Sebastian.
right. Like there's she, she lets him live, and like you said for Sebastian too. But she
But she
could
lets
have,
him go. She does
right.
let him go.
She
Yeah.
lets him go, and that's what I'm like. Okay, this woman's not bad, but she does have a lot of power behind her.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering, like, is she gonna use it more? Is something like, what's? I'm really curious what you're gonna do when you bring this back. Like, what Sebastian's gonna do.
Hmm.
I have a question for you with Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
What do you? What are your hopes for the new series?
Oh man, I mean, I think I agree with a lot of the chat we've seen on Twitter with our buddies and stuff. I mean, I
Yep.
really hope that it is what they say it's going to be, a sort of not a reboot of the same story told again, but
Right.
more of the future family, the family of today, where they are, where they've been. New characters, you and I have chatted about new characters for years. You and I have talked about that. How
Yep.
important it is to have new characters sort of intermingle with the original characters to push their stories forward. So I think that if that's what they have planned with it, which I think it is, that's what we've read. They have this idea that it's sort of like quote unquote the next Star Trek, the next generation of the Dark Shadows, right? It's
Right.
the new fresh version of it, I guess. I would love that. I mean, that would be just such a great idea, a way to revitalize something that is so special to so many people. I just really hope that there is a really good place for it to be, meaning on TV, and that people tune in and keep tuning in, because if they don't, it's going to be like the revival, just a couple of episodes, well, not a couple, but a season, and that'll be disappointing, because the people that really love Dark Shadows, regardless of how they feel of, how special the original is and how much they really cherish it, you need to support any type of push forward on the new stuff to keep it alive. Otherwise, it just fades in the background and people forget about it.
I think that's the thing too. Like with the revival, to me, the revival's biggest overall issue. Okay, like yes, the legacy characters are there and they have a really good fresh coat of paint. Okay, but they don't have. There's no real new characters to bounce Barnabas off of. You're just
Right.
relying on those familiar characters, even though they're somewhat new in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still the same name characters. And like, okay, with your story, Return of Dark Shadows, you had a shitload of new characters to like bounce everyone off of. And that's something you and I have talked about to death with Dark Shadows. It's like for Dark Shadows to like work, okay. And I get a lot of people's like finger snap sort of Thanos style is going to be, oh, bring Barnabas out right away. And I would say, no,
Hmm.
don't.
I
Because
agree. Don't.
if you do that, you're going to take away from your younger characters of building them up.
Right. Right.
Build them first, then bring Barnabas.
And it's always okay to sort of mention Barnabas or
Right.
throw in a little Easter egg of him because that's what people are going to watch. They want to see him. That he was the star of the show. So of course, not ignore him completely, but there's have his portrait up, have old Carolyn talk about him, have older David talk about him, have them sort of reminisce about what it was like back in the day, and or worry about what happens if he does come back, or just think little nuances like that that will keep people interested and think like, hey, maybe Barnabas is going to come back, maybe how are they going to bring him back. And that's even a better way of keeping the audience looped in, is thinking he's coming back any minute. How are they going to do this was 50 years ago, how are they going to bring him back? So that's,
Like,
instead of just bringing him back right off, that just spoils the surprise.
with like to Benight and Beguile, you have all these new characters that Celeste, Philippe, Jacob, Rebecca, Evie, Mary, Eliza. There was a lot of characters in there, and they're all new. And
Mm-hmm.
just like with what you did with Return Dark Shadows, you added new. You just didn't. For example, like if you took a character from Dark Shadows and used it in the story you're using now, like you'd have all these other new characters. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's like, and that's sort of my thing too. With, and I've been saying to another friend of mine, Darnell Week, shout out to him. I said to him, I'm going to quote John Phillip Bettencourt. I said, you don't have to show Barnabas right away. I said,
Right.
Barnabas is always there. I said,
Mm-hmm.
his portrait's there. His portrait hangs there. And so I've been quoting you. like,
Spreading the word, spreading the gospel.
like, like the the book of John Philip Bettencourt.
Yeah.
Just open it. Just open it. But that's sort of the thing. It's
Oh
like,
my God, that's another great title, The Book of Dark Shadows. Oh wow, The
right.
Book of Dark Shadows. Oh, that's a great title.
I'm
We
I'm
got to
I'm not,
use that somewhere.
I'm not corrupting anybody's mind here today. Um, I take
That's a
no
great title, The
I
Book of
take
Dark Shadows.
I take no responsibility on this podcast whatsoever. Even if
But
this
you
is
will
a
take royalties. We'll give you
no, I won't
a
take
little.
that. Oh shit! But no, I just think that if if they rush Barnabas out, and I love what Mark B. Perry said, it's not gonna Barnabas isn't gonna appear in the first episode. I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Like, end of season one or beginning of season two. Like,
Totally. Or I would say cliffhanger. Make it the season one cliffhanger.
right, like right, and that's the thing. Like, you don't want to rush this character back. You want to build the characters that you want to establish the younger
Mm-hmm.
generation, and that's what he said this focuses on, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what it should focus on. It should focus on the younger generation. Who was your favorite character to write in To Be Night and Beguile?
Ooh, I really liked writing. Let me think. Definitely really liked writing for Evie. She's the main character. But I really liked writing Jacob. He's evil and corrupt and a monster, but I think the villains are always the more fun. They're always more fun to create. They're always more fun to write for because there's sort of no boundaries. Your imagination can kind of run wild with them. They can do literally anything, and that's fine because that's their whole mo. That's the whole idea of having a villain, is to stir the pot and make things horrible and make it difficult for your protagonist, because if there was no villain, everything would be fine, and nobody wants that. Everybody wants a little bit of struggle. So Jacob for sure probably, I'll say Jacob more than Evie.
I actually again, my favorite character was the island, but I think if I had to pick like a second favorite, I really like Jacob too, simply for the even though he's like a dick,
Yeah.
but he really he's sort of strange in a weird way, if it makes sense. Like he doesn't really want to tell people like, yeah, I believe in that shit too, or he doesn't really want to own up to certain things that he might believe or not or disbelieve even. Like
Hmm.
him lying to Gaspar about shoving him like during the seance.
Yeah, right.
It's like
Exactly. He uses his own kind of like uh he lies basically to get out of anything
right,
and to shut up the whole like, oh, what the hell's really going on. He makes up another lie because he doesn't want anything to disturb his main plot. His whole life's work basically is to take control. So the minute something sort of puts him off kilter, he makes up a lie to just move on. Let's move on from that because he doesn't want, you know, he doesn't like reality. How's that?
right. I think that's the thing too. It's like there he wants it. He wants like a certain reality. If that it seems like to me,
His Exactly his own version of it. He creates it for himself.
right? So Jacob mentions the devil. Might we see the devil in this story down the road?
I think maybe Jacob says that more metaphorically than
Okay.
actual the devil's coming back. But I mean, because he is the devil. Jacob is the devil. So in a way, it's I mean, not legit like literally, but he
Right.
is sort of this sinister, evil person. So he definitely says that as a metaphor. But I think he is his own. He is the devil in Welshport.
So I'm reading too much into that one.
You never know. You never know. There is a whole second book coming someday, and you just never know.
When I like picture like when Jacob was like killing Evie, I like pictured myself standing on the ocean or
Oh,
standing on the
Sabrina, when he kills Sabrina.
yeah, sorry, it's killed Sabrina. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I was like picturing myself standing on the beach, and I'm like, y'all see this because like this whole place is strange. Like I feel like Cthulhu is gonna come out the goddamn water and kill us all. Like, so is there? That's sort of my question. Is there like a creature surrounding the waters? Like, is there like it feels very strange.
I feel like a lot of times you read into my brain because I plot these out very far in advance. I write out an entire outline. I create the little backstories in my little plots, and then once I start writing, everything sort of comes together. So I've already created the plot for for book two, and you're asking me things that are like in my plot, man. And I'm like, well, how does he know?
Don't reveal it. You don't have to reveal it. It just
It's not a monster. I'll
okay.
just say that, but there is something there. Let's just say there's something in the water. There's
Okay.
something in the water. So yeah, I was like, when you said that in your video, I don't know if it was last night's video or the one before, but I was just like, oh my god, did I tell him that?
No.
That's crazy. Yeah, you definitely have your nose in it.
No. Well, here's the thing. When you write, okay, like you do a very great job putting your readers where you're taking them, like Wellsport Island, Collinsport.
Thank you. That's a big major compliment.
So, and I love Savannah. And no, I'm not mad at you for canceling that one, but I may hex you someday, John Phillip. but but I really like. I was standing on the, so I'm like looking all at the water. I'm thinking, why do I sense like danger in that ocean? Like what the fuck? What the? Will you stop killing that woman in the stand and look out in the ocean, goddamn you! That's what I wanted to scream at like Jacob or something, but I knew he wouldn't hear me. Um, so like it just has this, I don't know, like when I felt myself standing there, and I don't mean literally, but for I'm like something just feels really off with like just the water that surrounds this island, like off, like the whole island feel fuck the whole island feels fucking off, but
there,
like it feels
well, there
it's
is something
creepy.
definitely odd. Yeah, the island is creepy. I will keep my lips sealed about the ocean because that
Yes,
part. will
Yes.
come soon. But yeah,
No
the island is
spoilers.
definitely so basic. This story is very, very heavily influenced by my love of Dark Shadows, as you can tell. I mean, the
Yeah.
story is very dark, and it has witches, and it has vampires, and it has coming back from the life. All that kind of stuff fascinates me, and I love it a lot. And I wanted to create sort of a new atmosphere where I can put all of those kind of fun stories that I have in my head from into a new place. So Collinsport has that same energy for me. So Collinsport's creepy and spooky, and there's all these weird things going on every day. And I wanted to create a whole new universe, but in the same universe. That's why Windcliff is around. So they're all sort of like these mirror images of the same town. Well, I mean, not the same town, but you know what I mean. It's sort of the same vibe, because I really love that kind of atmosphere, and there's so much you can write about, so much fun, creative juices that you can flow in and make these characters live. So Collinwood and Welshport are very similar places. They're both spooky. They both have a lot of secrets, and they're both filled with monsters and witches and anything you can imagine, because that's just the kind of like world I like to write about.
Hey, now, I always tease you about, because here's the thing. People, I get asked, like, every now and again, well, who would you pick to write a Halloween story? And you're like, your name pops right into my head. I'm like, John Phillip Bettencourt is who I would pick. I'm like, if I could, like, arm wrestle or twist his arm or put him in a headlock or something for, like, 10, like, can you write a Halloween story?
I would really have to study, because I would honestly, because I wouldn't feel like I would give it justice. Like, I like the movies a lot, but if I
Right.
were to write for Michael Myers, it's so hard because you don't know what the guy's thinking. He doesn't speak. He doesn't do uh well, that's the main thing. He doesn't speak. So it's like, how do I get into the dude's head and write for him? But at the same time, I think you mentioned this to me before, that it's really not about, this was a long time ago. You and I talked about it. You mentioned that it wasn't like, it was more about how the people felt about him, not him himself. So I
Right.
was like, oh, that's a great point. Right, with what the people feel about Michael Myers, because they're the ones that are afraid of him. Michael doesn't fear anybody. The
Right.
fear comes
It's
from the people around him.
Michael Myers. I've often said there are a lot of shadow clones out there, okay? Batman, especially. Um, Michael Myers is sort of horror's version of the shadow, okay?
Hmm.
Now, he doesn't have any agents, but he doesn't need them either, because here's this killer who's cold-blooded, and he's not. When I write Michael Myers, I write him how John Carpenter wrote him. He stalks random people, he murders them, and he goes about his, like, don't give a shit, because he doesn't. It's not about
Hmm.
how he doesn't feel a goddamn thing. And yet
Right.
here's these people who live in this town, or live wherever they're living, whether it's Haddonfield or anywhere else, especially Haddonfield. They fear his ass because they know, well, if he doesn't come this Halloween, he damn sure will come the next one or the one after
Right.
that. And that's sort of the unpredictability of it, of Michael Myers. It's what Halloween will he come on?
Yeah.
Because here, I don't like when you watch H2O, okay? H2O presents the first deduction board ever in Halloween history. And if you watch carefully, it says India. I think one of the things says Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hmm.
So Michael was murdering in other states. So Michael was out there murdering other states, other people, other kids, and Loomis was trying to find out where he might strike next.
Right.
That's horrifying as fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
because he could be anywhere.
right, like Michael Myers is everywhere and nowhere at the same goddamn time, and it's frightening as fuck. So, like, that's to me how you write Michael, in my view. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'd also love for you to one day write a shadow story, but I'm not plotting at all. But
you got a lot of things for me to do. I gotta get busy.
nah, I'll tell you though, have you listened to the Black Master audio?
I have not. No.
Okay, it's 5 hours. It's on
Oh God.
it's on Razorfish's channel. I'll have to share it to you.
Okay.
But I really love how he does the voice for the shadow and shit. How he does all the voices because he's doing all the
Hmm.
voices.
Hmm.
But the story is amazing, and the shadow goes up against this man who has this ability to suddenly electrocute people with this machine, and he traps people. If someone asks me what makes a hero in a story, okay, the shadow is trapped by the Black Master.
Hmm.
The shadow is being electrocuted. The shadow laughs at the Black Master each time. Here's this man, could die, could die, and he's laughing right at him. And that to me is what makes the shadow a hero. Like okay, you could kill me, so what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like, like, and that's what the amazing part of it is. It's like now the shadow, he puts the shadow like in a mausoleum, which is like a dark,
Very creepy.
creepy as fuck. And this shadow wakes up and he sees the cry, and he starts laughing like a mad, like dude, that's the shadow takes evil. He fights evil by being evil himself. He uses it against itself. He uses evil
Yeah.
against evil. Like, okay, villains have henchmen. The shadow has agents.
Hmm.
But also the shadow's a master of disguise. He can disguise himself as a janitor, a cop, a gangster. Hell, he literally disguised himself as a gangster and walked in a room full of gangsters and saved one of his own agents, um, which is crazy as shit.
Yeah.
But that's just who he is. He literally is a master of disguise. He can be anybody. He could be standing next to you and you wouldn't fucking know it. And in reality, like the comics, he's people think the Shadow's Lamont Cranston. He's not. He's Kent Allard. And Kent Allard was this French World War One pilot whose face is so badly disfigured that he doesn't have one anymore.
That's why
And
he
that's what
covers it, or it's like.
right, he covers it and he uses other skin. He uses skin.
Hmm.
Like so he doesn't have a face of his own. So that's why he forms multiple identities.
I wonder if that plot line, and I don't know if you've ever watched the Game of Thrones, but there's a similar plot line where they use different faces. Have you ever seen it?
No, but here's the thing.
I
It
wonder if that's where he got that idea from the
probably
shadow.
probably because here's the thing too. Dark Man, Sam Raimi took a script that he had written as a shadow script, and because he had a disagreement with the studio, he took his script and turned it into Dark Man. Um,
Hmm.
so there again, there's a lot of shadow imitators out there. Batman, um, but you know, because Partners of Peril. Bill Finger traced Partners of Peril, which is a shadow comic, shadow pulp. He traced it.
Hmm.
That's all he did, and they created Batman. Uh, so, which again, I think DC, the line in the shadow when the shadow crosses over with Batman is the shadow or Batman says to the shadow, you were my biggest inspiration." Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like because here's the thing, if you notice, Warner DC has done everything to erase the 40s Batman, the early 40s. And you want to know why? Because Batman carried a gun like the Shadow. Um,
Oh.
and the Shadow's always carried a gun. So,
Hmm.
unless you read that walking pile fucking shit that fucking James Patterson wrote, that motherfucker. So, no offense um, to him, bastard. Burn in hell. Like, oh my god. But yeah. I love your story. Like you always find a way to like put your readers where they are, like where you're putting your story.
Uh-huh.
And you also by putting them there, you don't make me feel like a reader. You make me feel when I read your stories a part of it, which is fun.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I mean, I really want people to. First of all, I really am thankful that you read it and that you liked it. I really hope other people have a chance to read it. It's my favorite story so far since Dark Shadows because it's exciting and I like that you feel that you're literally in the places that I put you because that's kind of the idea. You want to place people who are reading it into the situation so much that they want to come back and read and find out what happens next. And the little teasers of the next, going forward and moving to the next one and moving to the next one. It's so, I mean, you know this, you're a writer too. You want people to really enjoy the plot and be so enthralled in it that they continue to read and want more every single day. Like, I want to know what's going next. I want to see what's going next because that's really a part of the art of writing is having people enjoy, especially writing like this, having people sort of get transported to your wherever setting you are.
Yeah, it really you do a great job setting your stories, and it helps, like, to me, like, especially for me, the reader, it helps put me there and not just make me listen to the characters. It's almost like I'm interacting with them, which
That's
is really
awesome.
cool. It's like I wanted, like I said, I was like standing there watching like Jacob like kill us,
Sabrina.
Sabrina. Sorry,
That's right.
and I'm like, hey, yeah, this water, it's fucking creepy. Quit killing that woman and walk, goddamn you. So it was like I literally was like screaming that as I'm like reading before, because I pre-read like before I do the read-alongs.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, yeah, can you like quit killing that woman and look, goddamn it, look, there's something out there. I swear to God. But so
Well, you'll
yeah,
find out.
that's
You'll find out what's out there soon. I
oh,
should say.
God. Oh shit. That's scary, dude. That's like you literally create a very, very scary place.
Well, I'm glad. That's a compliment coming from you and coming from, especially because it's a story that isn't so, there's some dark places. I mean, clearly the murder is really kind of a very dark event. It's not just like, oh yeah, he shoots her. He like strangles her on the beach and it's pretty disturbing. I'm not too graphic, but I definitely wanted to make it disturbing. And there's a lot of my partner read up into the part where Evie is in the coffin where she dreams and she's being buried alive. He said it was the most uncomfortable he ever felt reading because of the description of her scratching at the coffin and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want the person who reading to feel uncomfortable because you want the reader to feel that they're in the coffin with her or that they're on the beach with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you do. You do. I mean, you just you do a great job of putting the readers there.
Thank you.
Is there a character that you ever wanted to write, like a fictional character that you wanted to write, maybe not necessarily in Dark Shadows, or but another character?
Like a character that already exists and create a story for them.
Yes.
That's a good question. Um, Kind of, yeah. It all kind of surrounds like these like soap characters. I'm kind of obsessed with soap operas. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
where Dark Shadow sort of comes from when I first watched it. But a lot of the characters that I liked that are not on the show anymore that just disappeared. Sometimes I think about, hey, what if this happened to them, or what if this whole thing happens to them? So I do kind of create these little scenarios that could be into stories. But I never really go into it because I really don't know if anyone would read it. I like to I like to have something created so that people feel excited about it. And I don't know if those type of ideas, those little soap characters, would be really interesting for people to read. But I do.
Well, the story you have now is very, 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 very interesting in my opinion. To Benight and Beguile. The link will be in the description box. I do have a couple more questions for you before I let you go. Is there who would you? Now, I've asked this. So, who would you cat for a lot of other people. Who would you cast to play Angelique in the new series?
Oh yeah, we talked about that on was it Twitter or Facebook? I can't remember.
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah, so like I said on Twitter, I think that if we were going to do it sort of like historically correct, I always pictured her Angelique as being a black lady because of where she's from and the time frame and stuff. So I was thinking of Tajar Sharif. She's a character or an actress that I first saw on The Haunting of Bly Manor. That's on Netflix. She's a great actress, and I think she'd be cool. But if we're gonna do the classic, gorgeous, blue-eyed, blonde, kind of mysterious lady like Laura Parker played, then Teresa Liane. I think it's Liane or Liane. I'm not sure, but her last name is spelled Liane. I only saw her in one thing. She was on a show, on a date soap a while back. But she's a great actress too. So those two would be my favorites to kind of play off of.
Yeah. Who would you cast as the Shadow?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. The Shadow. Oh my gosh, you got me good on that one. What age should he be? Are we doing a young guy or an older guy?
Well, here's the thing: Master of Disguise, right?
Yeah, true. But he
So
could be more than one actor, yeah?
right, he can be anybody. That's the thing. Like, I like whoever. It's sort of a trick question, so I'll apologize for my trickiness of it.
That's okay.
The Shadow, like if they do a proper Shadow movie, you should never really see the Shadow until he is the Shadow.
Uh-huh.
You should see his agents. So, like Clyde Burke, Harry Vincent, Margot Lane, etc., like all like different agents, and each agent, one of the agents, maybe in there that they recruit, the Shadow recruits a new agent by saving their life, or and this new agent is asking questions, sort of like Harry Vincent did when I've often said this. Amanda Harris from Dark Shadows, okay, is sort of halfway Harry Vincent because she jumps off the Brooklyn Bridge. Well, here's the thing: Harry Vincent was going to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge over a lover, just like Amanda Harris did.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Shadow saves his life. He doesn't jump. He doesn't make the plunge. The Shadow saves his life, and literally Harry Vincent can't believe he's staring at a human being. He thinks he's staring at death itself.
I can imagine.
Like, here's this person all clad in black, all dressed in black, brim down hat. You can only see their glowing coal eyes. And so, and even like in the darkness, you can really make him out because he's all in black. So, and he's just scary as shit. So I would have it be about the Shadow's agents, and then when you finally do see the Shadow, he's just kicking ass and killing bad guys and like making them talk and shit.
That's a
And
great idea.
like that's to me. But if I had to pick an actor like to don the cloak and the fedora and the dual revolvers, because you would need that. I would pick Adam Driver.
Oh, very good choice.
He would be my Shadow, and every now and again, when the Shadow would don like another part of a costume, you would just see like a normal looking dude. Like you'd see this normal looking guy mopping the floor, and you wouldn't like suspect nothing. And then he like taking the folder, like, wait, who is that? You'd just maybe think it was one of the Shadow's agents. And then he'd leave when he left the police. Let's say he leaves the police. And here's the thing, this isn't really my idea. Walter B. Gibson did this. The creator of the Shadow. He left, this janitor left the police force, pulled back the face, and donned a cloak and hat, he became the Shadow. So literally, when I say the Shadow's a master of disguise, he posed as a Secret Service agent. He's so
He's anybody. He's everybody and anybody.
right. He's
Yeah.
like we've talked about Michael Myers
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
being everywhere and nowhere. That's the
Yeah.
Shadow. I mean, so who would you cast? I'm sorry.
I got to think about it, and then I will let you know. But I really like Adam Driver. That's a great idea because he knows how to play sort of these dark, brooding kind of people, but also have the ability to kind of really make you like them at the same time.
I thought like Victor Jory did a really great job, like for the 1940s movie, like The Black Tiger.
Uh-huh.
Like, because he put on like a fake disguise and stuff, so that was really good. Alec Baldwin did a good job. So again, but I think a proper Shadow movie wouldn't necessarily be about the Shadow. It would be about his agents.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
It would be about them talk, because Walter B. Gibson already did that in The Living Shadow. Harry Vincent asked Burbank or Clyde Burke, I forget who it is this who is the Shadow? I don't know. Is he from America? I don't know. Does he live in New York? I don't know. And the guy tells Harry Vincent, Harry, remember my answers to you. I don't know. They'll come in handy. Like, meaning if you get captured, what you don't know can't hurt you.
Right. It's best to not know.
Right. And like, how would you even find out? Like, now they did do he did do like a where someone did find out, and it was like a post office worker of all things. which was interesting. And that person got brought to justice. So, but I really, to get back on topic, I apologize.
That's okay.
I love your story, To Be Night and Beguile. I really enjoyed this setting, the island. You put your readers, story I've read of yours, you put your readers where they are. So
I'm super glad you liked it. And I hope that means you're cool with me doing a second book. You want to know where the rest of it goes?
but 1000%, because if you didn't, I know where you live.
That's right.
but I like how you said that to Julie when she was making the cookies. I'm like, yeah. Um, but yeah, so yeah. Is there anything you want to add about your story?
I just really hope that everyone that watches and listens to your podcast really gives it a shot and really, really takes the journey of 13 chapters. I really would appreciate it. And I hope that they like it. I mean, I really do. And of course, thank you so much for helping this little story move forward as you have. I mean, every week you've supported each chapter, and that's so, so important. I appreciate every single retweet and like. It's really, really appreciated, Jewel. Thank you so much.
I love this. Listen, I love reading. I tell everybody this. I love reading, especially when the story is good.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to tell a story and you know how to write a story, which is great. Unlike fucking James Patterson. I'm going to hell for that.
I won't tell him.
My wife goes, "Are you ever going to give James Patterson?" I'm like, "No," but so no. To go check out To Be Night and To Beguile. Link will be in the description box. I really, again, the scene setting is amazing, and that's really something you do so well, and it really helps put us there with your characters. Good Island is a bit creepy too, by the way.
It's really creepy, right? It's its own little world of craziness. Yeah.
I sort of like when Jacob. I'll give this. Jacob's got balls for going to Good Island. Not a lot of brains, but a lot of balls.
Yeah. That's the thing. He thinks he's smart, but he's got something coming.
And it's like, dude, it's like walking into a living Ouija board. What the fuck are you doing?
Well, let's say that he only made it to the shore. He didn't go all the way up to
Okay, okay, okay.
that.
So he's not totally dumb. Good boy, Jacob. Good boy. Um, I'll tell you, it just again, both islands give very, very creepy feel, and that's a lot of credit to the writer John Philip Bettencourt, who was gracious enough to give me his time. And I think
Anytime, anytime.
thank you to the moon and back, because it is so awesome hearing from you.
You too.
Um,
We got to do it again. Not we can't wait a year like we did this time.
no, goddamn it, we cannot wait a year. Probably because my wife will beat the shit out of me if I wait a year. But no, that's a joke. Um, I think I'll tell you what I find really weird, real quick. I know I keep saying about going, but I keep thinking about something. When the book flies open, Eliza's book flies open, and she sees like the swords turning in. I think that was just so creepy.
It is foreshadowing. It's the swords turn in, and it says it lands on a spell called in Latin "everlasting life." So
Yeah,
she knows even the book is telling her you got to make Sebastian live forever.
yeah, it's creepy as all hell. Um, Great, yeah, just great. Like I said, great, great, great setting. Link will be in the description box. And to Christopher, finish reading this story, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. Please preach to the choir. I'm gonna have to tell him to listen to this because he tells me again. I know you have to go, but he keeps telling me that I'll read it once I get into it. He likes it, but he likes to have like this moment where he can just read through, get into the groove sort of thing. And I'm just like, when are you going to get into the groove? I want him to finish it, but oh well, we'll see.
Here's the thing. Once he finishes it's like this. When I finished this story, my skin was like crawling so hard. It was like, Jesus. But like, because again, it's just really, really creepy. The island itself is fucking creepy, and it is. So great, great job on this. The
Thank you,
setting
thank you.
is amazing. The characters are really cool, and yes, that includes Jacob. He's a lot of fun. But it is you could speak to this too. You've it's hard to kill characters off at times, right?
It is because you don't know exactly if that's the right move. Like you think, okay, I'm going to kill this person off, and then you hope that it's right for the plot because sometimes you do, and then later down the line you're like, shit, I really should have not done that because I need him now, or now I feel bad because there's a hole in the story that person could have filled. So I definitely sometimes I do regret it, but
I,
that's what's great about gothic fiction. You can bring back anybody.
I would give you the best advice ever if you ever write a Halloween story. When someone asks you, why did you kill that person? Just look at them with the straightest face and say, I didn't kill nobody. Michael Myers killed that person. Um,
That's right. I didn't kill nobody.
I didn't put that knife in that woman's chest. What are you talking about? But no, it's always such a pleasure talking to you, man. You are a hell of a
You
writer.
too.
Um,
Thank you so much. I love talking to you. I'm glad we could do it this time.
yes, yes, absolutely, and we got to get together a lot sooner. Link to John's story, To Be Night and Beguile. I'm going to start it from chapter 1 for those who haven't started it or checked it out yet. It's really, really good. It's going to be in the description box. John, man, it is always a pleasure. You have a great night, and God bless, man.
You too. Thank you so much. Hi, Julie. Bye, guys.
Bye.